Is Mr. Ashton going through the Mathematics Unit 1 Non-Calculator Intermediate Tier paper from the summer 2017. Okay, so the first page has got some nice questions on it to get us warmed up. It says write down the next two numbers in the following sequence. So we can see there we've gone from 35 to 25, so we've taken away 10. We've then gone from 25 to 16, so we've taken away 9. And then we've gone from 16 to 8, so we've taken away 8. So I would assume my next one would be take away 7. Then from there, I would take away 6. So 8 take away 7 is 1. Then 1 take away 6 is minus 5. The next question says, find the value of 2x plus 7y when x is equal to minus 3 and y is equal to 10. So the first thing I'm going to do is substitute in by changing the letters to open brackets. We're told that x is equal to minus 3, so that's going to go in that bracket. And we're told that y is equal to 10, so 10 is going to go in that bracket. Touching means timesing, so where minus 3 goes in there and 10 goes in there, we're going to get 2 times minus 3, which is minus 6, plus 70. And then really to answer that, I'm going to answer it, think of it the other way around. 70 take away 6 is 64. The next thing I'm going to do is simplify this expression. We've got 8k, and then we want to take away 2k. The k's will deal with the k, so 8k take away 2k, that takeaway belongs to that k, is 6k. And then we've got plus 3m, and we want to take away 8m. So we're going to be on 3 take away 8, which would be minus 5m. For question 2, it says write down 0.4, 15%, and 7 out of 20 in ascending order. Now, ascending, if you think of it like a mountain, here's a mountain, flag on the top. To ascend a mountain, I'm going up. To descend, I'm going down the mountain. Okay, so in terms of working this out, then I need to have them all in the same sort of unit. So we've got a decimal, percentage, and a fraction. They can all be interchanged between them. I like to change everything into a percentage and then just compare them from that. So 0.4, to change a decimal, to change any decimal into a percentage, you times by 100, which would move it along 2 places in its place value to give me 40%. 7 out of 20 is currently not a percentage because it's not out of 100. To make 20 out of 100, I times it by 5, which means I have to times the top by 5. That would be 35%. And then to write in ascending order, the smallest one is 15%, that's already a percentage, then 35%, then 40. So I'm just going to write it just above 15%, 35%, and 40%. And although you'll still get full marks in the exam, I always like to turn them back to what they were originally. So originally 15% was 15%, so that stays there as 15%. 35% was 7 out of 20, so I'm going to write 7 out of 20. And then 40% was 0.4. Okay, next question says, let me just try and get rid of the shadow I've got going on here today. Hopefully that'll be a bit better. There. Okay, so over the page, it then says reflect the triangle below in the x-axis. The x-axis is this axis here. So to reflect that, we need to count how many squares away each vertex is. So this vertex is 1, 2, 3 squares away, so it needs to be 1, 2, 3 squares away here. This vertex is also 3. And then this one here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. So going back to the axis here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. I then just have to do a dot-to-dot drawing of those things. And it should look like if I folded this along the x-axis, those two would meet up and land on each other. Okay. The next question says, enlarge the triangle below by scale factor 3. Now, it's quite rare to get asked to do just the scale factor 3. You're usually given from a centre of enlargement. They haven't given me a centre of enlargement, so I can do it anywhere I want on the grid. But go and count the sides, the straight sides of the original. You've got a 3 by 2 triangle. Scale factor 3 means 3 times bigger. So now it's got to be 9 by 4. So I've got to have quite a bit of space. So I'm going to do my first corner there. Is then going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's going to be my new corner. And then the new base is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so plenty of room anywhere on that grid as long as it is a 9 by 6 triangle. You'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so I do my straight lines first and then just join up the last 2. Okay. And then we're asked to translate the following triangle 3 squares to the left and 2 squares down. Well, literally pick any corner. I'm going to pick this top corner, this top vertex. I'm going to move it 3 squares to the left, so 1, 2, 3, and then 2 squares down. So 1, 2, so that is where that will now be placed. Now I basically have to repeat that with each vertex, but a shortcut that I like to do here is to say, well, if that triangle is 2 down originally, it's got to be 2 down there. And if it has a base of 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd still have a base of 1, 2, 3, 4 from there. And that'll do the same as moving it 3 across to the left and 2 down, and then literally just joining up those corners again. Okay. Next question says, a fair dice is rolled. What is the probability that 4 is shown on the dice? So the 1/4 bit they're getting you there by saying, oh, it's 4. The probability of working anything out is the number of successful opportunities, the ones that work for you out of the total amount. Now, we know on a dice there's 6. It tells you there's 6 sides. And then only one of those will be 4, so that'll just be 1 out of 6. 50 raffle tickets were sold at a charity event. Sian has a 20% chance of winning the top prize. How many tickets did she buy? Well, 50% were sold. She bought 20% of them. 10% would be equal to 5. So 20% would be equal to 10. So she bought 10 tickets. And then part C, we're told a bag contains a mixture of blue, yellow, and pink beads. 1 bead is taken at random from the bag. The probability that the bead was pink was 1 out of 5. Which of the following sets of beads could the bag have been in? Okay, so what we need to do is evaluate the chance of getting pink in each of these bags. So we'll start with the first one. We've got 3 that are pink out of 15 in total. Can I cancel that down? Yes, it cancels down to 1/5, so it's literally the first one. So I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would probably be like the last one for me to go through all of them. But if you go through the rest of them, for instance, like the next one, got 5 out of 15. Divide top and bottom by 5 is 1/3. So that's not the same. So it's not that bag, and you could do the same working through those. Okay then. Question number 5. It says Team A and Team B play in a competition. Team A has 9 more points than Team B. Team A has 4 more points than Team B. How many points does each team have? Now, you could do this just through trial and improvement and just trying to guess a number. I'm going to say that B has got X amount of points. So A has got 4 times as many, so it has 4X. Okay. Now, similarly, if I'm saying that B has got X amount of points and Team A has 9 more, that is X plus 9 amount of points. So I know that Team A is the same as X plus 9, and that would be the same as saying that's equal to 4X. Now, from there now, I can just solve that as an equation. So I'm going to take X off each side to get 9 is equal to 3X, and I'm going to divide both sides by 3 to get X is equal to 3. So X was Team B, so 3, and then Team A is 4 times as many, so 12. And I just check that works the other way around. So if I'm saying X is equal to 3, 3 plus 9 is also 12, so that works out in both scenarios. So Team A has got 12 points, Team B has got 3 points. Question 6, make sure you've read the question. Have a quick pause of the video if you haven't read it already, and then I'll go through it in about 5 seconds. Okay, then we're told that David, Jane, and Mary are beach inspectors. 3 beaches, Harlech, Rill, and Porthcawl, are to be inspected on a certain day. It is decided to share the work so that the inspectors will visit 1 beach each, chosen at random. List all the possible ways this could work. Okay, now the way that I'm going to do this, they've given us 1, David to Harlech, Jane to Rill, Mary to Porthcawl. I'm just going to take the first letter of each just to make it easy to list everything. In the exam, because you've only got to do this once, just write them all out. I'm going to stick David with Harlech still, and then I'm going to switch round Jane and Mary so they go to opposite beaches. So she goes to Porthcawl, she goes to Rill. Okay. Now, in terms of David going to Harlech, those are the only 2 other options that could happen. So now I'm going to have David going to one of the other beaches. Let's put Rill first. So that's going to leave Jane and Mary going to the other 2 beaches. So I've chosen Rill. So that's gone this time. But Harlech and Porthcawl are still in the game. So Jane to Harlech, Mary to Porthcawl. So although that's nearly the same as the first one here, that Mary's still going to Porthcawl, these 2 have switched beaches, okay? Keeping David going to Rill there. Jane and Mary are now going to switch beaches for me. That she's going to go to Porthcawl, she's going to go to Harlech. And now I've exhausted the real opportunities for David. So now I'm going to do David going to Porthcawl and David going to Porthcawl again. Jane and Mary. In the first instance, if I'm switching her going to Porthcawl, she's going to go to Harlech. She's going to go to Rill. And then I'm going to switch around Jane and Mary. So Jane goes to Rill, Mary goes to Harlech. Okay, so you should have 1, including the one they gave us, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in total. It then says, what is the probability that one of the female inspectors goes to Rill? Okay, so where's Rill happened? Where are they female? So Jane and Rill, that's 1. Mary and Rill. David and Rill, well, he's male. David and Rill again, he's male. But Mary and Rill, Jane and Rill. Okay, so how many times did that happen? 4 times out of 6 in total. Okay, no need to cancel that down unless they state they need it cancelled down. They don't, so I can just leave it as 4 out of 6. Okay, the next question, number 7, says ABCD is a quadrilateral. Calculate the value of x. Well, the value of x is given to us 3 times and nothing here, but we do know what that angle is because it's a square. That means it's 90 degrees. So we can then say that 3x plus 2x plus x plus the 90, because it's a quadrilateral, must be equal to 360. I'm then going to simplify the x terms. 3x plus 2x plus x will be 6x plus 90 is equal to 360. I'm now going to take 90 off each side to get 6x is equal to 270. And then I'm going to divide both of those by 6. Now, I obviously don't know how many 6s go into 270, so I will do bus stop division here. 6s into 2 don't go, 0. 6s into 27 goes 4 times, remainder 3. And then 6s into 30 goes 5 times, so that is 45 degrees. It then says, when ABCD is drawn to scale, which is currently not, would the lines AD, so let's go and highlight what that is, would lines AD and BC, so these 2 lines, would they be parallel, okay, or not? You must justify your answer without using scale drawing. Now, what I'm going to do here to see if they're parallel is I'm going to connect these 2 lines to make a C angle, okay? Now, if I've made a C angle and these are, let's say they are parallel for now, so I put these arrows on, then this angle here and this angle here would have to add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to say if parallel, angle DAB, so going from D to A to B, so this one is 2x, add angle ABC, so going from A to B to C, must equal 180. DAB is 2x, x is 45, so 2x would be 2 lots of 45, plus 90. That's equal to 90 plus 90, and that's equal to 180 degrees. So yes, they are parallel. Now, alternatively, I could have done the C angle going the opposite way. I could have done it so that it was up here instead. And if you look at doing 3x add x, that would be 45 times 3 plus 45, which would also be 180. So yes, they are parallel. Okay, the next question is an estimation question. To do that, you want to round, in pretty much every case, all numbers to one significant figure. Okay, that means the line goes down after the first non-zero number. So I'm going to change that 41.3 into 40. I'm going to change 29.6 into 30, and it's all going to be over 200. Okay, that's not a particularly nasty one. They were all pretty obvious numbers to change. 4 times by 3 is 12, and 2 zeros get added onto that, divided by 200. So either count how many 200s go into 1,200. I'm actually going to divide top and bottom by 100 to get 12 divided by 2, and then 12 divided by 2 is 6, so my answer is 6. I'll get 1 for rounding, 1 for 6. This one here then says it is given that 54 times 84.2 is equal to 4,546.8. Write down the exact value of each of the following. Now, if I'm given that fact there, that 54 times by 84.2 is equal to 4,546.8, I actually know 3 other facts that are going to come with that, okay? The first one's really easy. I'm just literally going to switch the order that they're given in. So we're given 54 times 84.2, then I know that 84 0.2 times 54 must be equal to exactly the same thing. The next thing I'm going to do is actually change the order of things now. I know that 4,546.8 divided by 54 must be equal to the other one. It must be equal to 84.2. And similarly, I know that 4,546.8 divided by 84.2 must be equal to 54. Okay, so the first question I've got, what is that one most like? Is it like my three facts are given, or is it like the original? Well, for me, that is very similar to the original, except that is bigger. So that means on this side, when they're just timesing, I need to repeat the same to both sides, okay? So I need to times it by 10, then times it by 10 again. So times it by 10 would shift the numbers across once, so that 8 is no longer a tenth, it would now be a unit, and then times by 10 again would effectively put 0 on the end. Everything will move across again once. So I'm going to get 4, 5, 4, 6, 8, and a 0, okay? Number 2 is most like number 2 in my three facts, okay? That has stayed exactly the same, but that has got 10 times smaller. Now, be very careful. If it's happened after a dividing, I'm divided by a smaller amount. So take, for example, if I had £100 that's going to share it between 20 people, we'd each get £5, okay? But if I had 100 quid I was going to share it between just the two of us, we'd each get 50 quid. So I've shared it between less people, I get a lot more. So rather than actually making my answer 10 times smaller as well, I am actually going to make my answer 10 times bigger. It does the opposite after a divide, okay? So it's not going to be 84.2, it's actually going to be 842. Now, if unsure, the best tip I can give you is to round it to estimate it just like we did above, okay? So again, rounding that to one significant figure would give me 5,000 over 5, which is 1,000. So I know that my answer has to be around about 1,000, and it is. 842 is around 1,000, okay? And then similarly here, my question 3 here is divided by 84 is like my fact number 3 here as well, okay? What's changed and what's different? Well, the numerator has got smaller. I'm sharing less stuff by the same amount, okay? So this is like me having that 100 quid, sharing it between 20. What if I only had 10 quid to share between 20? Well, you get significantly less, okay? You're actually going to divide this answer by 10 because it's before the divide sign, okay? So this is going to be 5.4, okay? I've made it 10 times smaller. And again, if unsure, go and estimate it. So we're going to change that to 500 divided by 80. So if I was to count in 80s until I got to 500, I could go 80, 160, 240, 320, 400, 480, so a 6 and a bit. So I'm just going to say 6 remainder 20 for now. 6 and a bit, well, that's 5 and a bit. So yeah, they're really close, okay? So estimating is a good way to check that you're on the right lines. Okay, question 9 says that you will be assessed on the quality of your organisation, communication, and accuracy in your writing. It says in the diagram below, ABCD is a rectangle and PQ is parallel to AD. So PQ, this one here is parallel to AD. So basically these two are both rectangles. It then says the area of ABCD, so A to B to C to D, this one here. So what I'm going to do is actually highlight that to demonstrate what it's saying. This rectangle, the whole big thing, is 52 centimetres squared. Okay. We're then told that AP QDE, so AP, so A to P to Q to D, so this smaller rectangle here, we're told that's 20. Okay, so that's 20 centimetres squared. This was 52 centimetres squared. Now that means I can go and work out what this bit here must be. If that's 20, this must be 32 centimetres squared, okay? But because I'm getting assessed on the quality of my organisation and my communication, I need to show where I've got that from, okay? So I'm going to say rectangle and then PQCB. PQCB is equal to 52 take away 20, which is 32. Now, because we're assessed on our quality of quality of organisation, communication, and writing, make sure that you include any units. That's one part of this, okay? Now, because of that, I know that's 8 times F is equal to 32, okay? So I'm going to say area PQCB is equal to 8 times f, which is then 32 is equal to 8 times f. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8 to get 4 centimeters is equal to f. Okay, and I'm now going to write that there. Okay, now I've now found that's 4 centimeters there, so I'm going to say 4 centimeters there, and that length is AD. I'm going to say so AD also equals 4 centimeters. Okay, now finally, to work out the area of this, which I know is 20, I know it's 4 times g. So I'm going to say 4 times g equals area APQD. 4 times g is equal to 20 centimeters squared, but I'm not going to write that in until the very final answer. I'm going to divide both sides by 4 to get g is equal to 5 centimeters. Okay? Now, I don't really have to write anything else here other than what I've done, okay? Because I've explained everything as I've gone along and I've included units, okay? That should be fine in terms of the workings, in terms of the marks. Okay, question 10 says, Kerry has a set of cards. Each of the cards is labelled north, east, south, or west. Kerry chooses one of the cards at random. Complete the table below. Well, because all the cards are equal to 1, okay? So all of those equal 1. So far, we've got 0.4, 0.2 is 0.6, and 0.25 be 0.85. So this must be 0.15. Okay. It then says Kerry chooses one of the cards from her set of randoms. What is the probability that is east or south? East or south? East or south are those ones there. So what I do is I combine those two probabilities in terms of adding them. So in 0.25, add 0.2 to get 0.45. It then says Sasha has an identical set of cards. Kerry and Sasha each choose one card at random from their set of cards. What is the probability that they both choose north? Well, because they're identical sets of cards, they're identical sets of probabilities. The chances of Kerry getting north is 0.4. The chances of Sasha getting the probability is 0.4. And if you're working out a probability of one person getting it and then someone else getting it, you multiply those two things. Be very careful here. We know that probabilities can't go above 1. 0.4 times 0.4 is actually 0.16. Okay? Okay, over the page, question 11 says, complete the table above. So we need to go and work out what this missing value is. So the way I substitute is I change all the letters to open brackets to begin with. And then I chuck in the number that's missing will go in there and there, will go in here and here. Okay, so it's going to be 3 squared minus 5 times 3 plus 2. 3 squared is 9, minus 15 is minus 6, plus 2 would be minus 4. Okay. The next thing it wants me to do is to plot those values on a graph. Now, to plot those on a graph, I need to use a pencil. And let's start off with this one, okay? So minus 1 and 8 there. 0 and 2, actually on the axes there. Minus 1 and 2, minus 1 and minus 2. 2 and minus 4. 3 and minus 4. Check, you can see what I'm plotting here. 4 and minus 2, and then 5 and 2. And you can see it's a symmetrical graph there. I've got the same points getting plotted everywhere, okay? The next one will be 6 and 8. Now, the one thing you should know about any x squared graph is that it will always... Now, in terms of plotting this, you can see at the bottom that my graph, it won't really be flat, okay? It's going to have that curve that I just drew up there, okay? So that means here, where it looks like it's gone flat, it's actually going to go underneath. And you should never use a ruler to do smooth curves. One long continuous line. And they will be looking for that to go under those points there like that. Okay? Now, we're then asked on the other page, it says, draw the line y equals minus 3. draw the line y equals minus 3 on your paper. Okay, now that is literally what it says on the tin. Let me just show it again. Y equals minus 3. Okay, go and find y on your axes there. Where is it minus 3? Here. Okay, so what you do is you draw a line that goes through the y-axis at 3. Okay, and then where it crosses, it wants me to go off and read off what those values are. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to come up here. Okay, now reading that, I can see that's just under 1.5. I'm going to write 1.5 for me. In the mark scheme, I actually said 1.4, but you're allowed to be 0.1 above and above and 0.1 below, so I'd be fine with that. 1.3 would also be fine. And this one's 3.6, which is actually what it did want in the mark scheme. Okay, but again, 0.1 above and 0.1 below is fine. So 3.5, 3.7 would have both been fine for that. If you've drawn on your graph, you need to just make sure you read that value off correctly. So even if you've plotted these incorrectly, you won't get penalised for there as long as you're accurate from your graph. Question 12, lovely question. Product of prime factors. So we just think of our prime numbers, and we're thinking of two numbers that times together to give 700. So I'm going to go with 7 and 100. Circle any number that's prime. 7 is prime. This only has two factors. 100, 10 and 10. They are not prime, neither of them, because 2 goes into them, which means they're both even. 2 times 5 makes 10, repeatedly. And then to write it as a product of prime factors in index form, it would be 2 times 2, so 2 squared, times 5 times 5, so times 5 squared, times 7. Okay, I'm always going to say equals 700. If you put those numbers into your calculator, that would equal 700. It then says, explain why the number 33,554,432 is equal to 2 to the power of 25. Explain how this result tells you it is not a square number. To be a square number, all of your indices in your list, so this isn't a square number either, because all the indices have to be even. So that's not that's even, but that hasn't got a power. It has, if I bother to write it in, there's only 1 7, it's 7 to the power of 1. I'd need to times this number by 7 to make it a square number. And similarly, this isn't a square number because it's got an odd indice, so I'd need to times it by 2 to shift that up to an even number, to 26. So I'm going to say because the power is not even. That's all they're after for that answer there. Okay, over the page it says, which of the following equations could represent the line shown in the graph above? Well, the one thing to notice here is where it crosses the y-axis, it is positive. So the plus c bit must be positive. Okay, and then this is coming down, so this is negative, and this is what we call the gradient. So the m bit must be negative. Okay, so first of all, I can go and cross off anything that doesn't have a negative gradient. That does, so that's fine for the moment. That does, so it's fine for the moment. That hasn't, so no, can't have that. Can't have that. Can't have that one as well. Even though it has a negative gradient, it doesn't go through 0. Like that's got no plus c with it, so it can't be that one. So then it's got to have a positive y-intersection. So it's got to have a plus number. That's a minus number there, which leaves me with just 1. So it must be that one there. Okay, that's the only one it could work. With this one here, it says, which of the following coordinate points would lie on 2y equals 3x plus 4? Now, these coordinates are given in terms of x and y. So x in this case would be 2, y would equal minus 5. So what I need to do is substitute that into the formula. So y is equal to minus 5, so 2 times by minus 5 is equal to 3x, so 3 times by 2, and then plus 4. 2 times by minus 5 is minus 10. 3 times by 2 is 6. 6 add 4 is 10. Is minus 10 equal to 10? No, then it is not that pair, okay? Repeat until you get to this one here, and you'll find, because x is 2 and y is 5, you'll get 2 times 5 is equal to 3 times 2 plus 4. That will give you 10 equals 10. That does work, so that is your pair. None of the others work, okay? And then finally on this page, it says, what is the gradient of the line shown of the graph above? You are looking to draw a triangle of values you know, so I'm going to use literally the intersections there. I've come across from 0 to 3, so that has run along 3, and it's gone from minus 2 up to 0, so that is a rise of 2. Now, to work out the gradient, the formula I use is rise over run is equal to the gradient. So how much has that graph risen? 2. How much did it run along? 3. So I'm looking for 2/3. This one here. Okay. Okay, next page. Says a whole number is written on a card. You are given 3 clues to help you work out the number on the card. Double the number is between 8 and 18 inclusive. Now that inclusive means it includes 8 and 18. So that means if I halve all of the numbers between 8 and 18, and it's got to be a whole number, I can already start to work out what numbers it could be. So using clue 1, including 8 and 18, half of 8 is 4. Half of 9 is 4.5. I don't want any odd numbers because they're going to give me a decimal, and I know that my number is whole. So then half of 10 is 5. 6 would be half of 12. 7 would be half of 14. 8 would be half of 16. And 9 would be half of 18. So it has to be one of these numbers straight away. Okay. We're then told that from clue 2 that it's a prime number. So I know it can't be. Let's start with this actually. I know it can't be 4. I know it can't be 6. I know it can't be 8 because these are even numbers, therefore 2 goes into them. 5 is a prime number, 7 is a prime number, 9 is not. 3 times 3 is 9, so 3 goes into 9. So it's either 5 or 6. Okay, 5 or 7. And then it says the number is not a factor of 100, so it doesn't go into 100. Now 5 does because it ends in 0, so it's not 5 either. So the number on the card is 7. Okay, then question 15. It says, in the following formula, each measurement of length is represented by a letter. Write down whether it could be a formula for length, area, volume, or none of these. Now, the best way to do these is to change every letter to L, okay? So we're going to call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So we don't want to have loads of different letters. So number 1, I'm going to rewrite as L squared plus LL, okay? That would also be L squared. L squared plus L squared would give me 2L squared. Ignore any numbers that aren't powers. L squared alone would be an area. Number 2, we've got L plus L plus L. L plus L plus L would be 3L. Ignore any numbers that aren't powers. L on its own would just be a length. Then we've got, for number 3, 2 pi L minus pi L squared. Ignore any numbers that are not powers. So 2 pi is a number because it's 3.14, blah, blah, blah. Ignore that one there. There we've got a length, take away an area. Well, because that's one thing and that's another, that's a length, that's an area, you can't do that. You can't mix these up. You can only do an area, take away an area to get an area, okay? So that's a nonsense. That's none of these, okay? Number 4 would be L plus L times by L, okay? Now, an L plus an L will give me 2L times by L. I would ignore any numbers that aren't powers, and then I've got L times L, which is L squared. L squared alone would be area. And then this one here, number 5, would be L cubed plus L times L times L. I have to go and work out the timesing through BIDMAS. L times L times L would be L cubed. L cubed plus L cubed would be 2L cubed. Ignore the numbers that aren't powers. L cubed alone would be volume. Okay, number 16, a very tricky question. I find these really, really hard to get my head around at first. So you must have your wits about you. Make sure you pause the video and had a good read of the question. Okay, I'm going to do a lot of annotating of this as I go along to really try and explain what's going on, because I think it's a really tricky question. It says, a group of 20 people visited Anglesey for a weekend break. 10 of the group visited a castle. 13 of the group visited the lighthouse. 4 of the group did not visit either of these places. Complete the Venn diagram below to show this information. The universal set E contains all of the 20 people. Okay, so inside here are equal to 20 people. Okay, now the only thing that we can put in there so far is that 4 of the group did not visit either of the places. So I'm going to put 4 in there, okay? Now, between the circles, if I do 20, take away 4, I'm going to find out that 16 people should be in the circles. Okay, now in the circles, I've got the castle, which 10 people went to, and I've got 13 people that went to the lighthouse. Okay, so between the castle and the lighthouse, say, oh, right, okay, so 10 people there and 13 people there account for 23 people. Well, there was only 20 people to start with. 4 of them didn't go to either, okay? So by doing 10 plus 13 to get 23 people, I have counted some people there twice, okay? Because it's more than the 20 people I have, and it's way more than the 16 people that should be in the circles. So what I do is I work out the difference between the number of people who are reported to have gone to both attractions and the number of people that should be in the circles. So if we do 23, take away 16, we get 7. There are 7 people who were counted twice, i.e., in the crossover, 7 people must go. Okay? Now, because the castle had 10 people, this circle needs to add up to 10. So that must be 3. Because 13 people went to the lighthouse, this needs to add up to 13. So that would be 6. Okay? Then if I do a very quick check on adding them up, I've got 6 add 4, which is 10. 3 add 7, which is 10. 10 add 10 is 20. Okay? It then says, one person is chosen at random from the group. What is the probability that this person what is the probability that this person visited only one of the 2 places? So, i.e., either the castle or the lighthouse. So that would be 3 add 6, not the 7 people who went to both, out of 20 in total, which would be 9 out of 20. Question 17 is a simultaneous equations question. Because these 2 here have different signs, I'm going to get those the same. The way I'm going to get them the same is times them by the opposite coefficient. So I'll times this one by 3, this one by 4 to create 2 new equations. Equation number 1, 3x times 3 would be 9x, 4y times 3 would be plus 12y, and 3 times 7 would be equal to 21. Equation number 4 would be, so this is 1, this is 2, would be 8x minus 12y is equal to 64. Because these 2 have the same signs, have different signs, we add them together. So I do equation 3 add equation 4. So I'm going to get 9x add 8x, which would be 17x. 12y add a negative 12y would cancel out, which is why I added them together and got them the same. 21 plus 64 would be 85. I now need to count in 17s until I get to 85. Okay? So, best way to do that, notice that 17 is very close to 20. Add 20, then take away 3 if you're unsure, if you're finding it hard. So I'm going to double it first of all to get 34. Then I'm going to add 20 to get 54, but then take away 3, because 20 take away 3 is 17. Add 20 would be 71, take away 3 would be 68, which we also know double of 34 would give me 68 to find out 4 times. And then add 20 would be 88, take away 3 would be 85, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So x is equal to 5. Now I know what x is, I sub x equals 5 into one of the 2 original equations. Choose the one without the negative sign for an easier life. So I'm going to sub it in 1. I'm going to get 3 times 5 plus 4y is equal to 7. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 4y is equal to 7. I'm now taking 15 off both sides to get minus 8. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 4 to get y equals minus 2. Last page then of this paper, it says calculate the value of 5.41 times 10 to the power of 5 add, now that's the key bit here, this makes this a lot easier, add 2.3 times 10 to the 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this out of standard form. That power of 5 there would mean that my decimal point would jump back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to here. So I'd have the 4 1 there and zeros to here, okay? Similarly, with the 2.3 times 10 to the 4 would move it 1, 2, 3, 4 places here. So I have zeros there, there, and there. So now I'm just going to add those up in, or line those up in column addition. And then add them together to get 5, 6, 4, 0, back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places, then it would be a number between 1 and 10. So 5.64 times 10 to the power of 5. Okay, final question. Have a quick read of it. Okay, it is very similar to the one that we actually started earlier in terms of setting up an equation for it. We're told Rashid owned N sheep. Effion had exactly 4 times as many sheep as Rashid. Rashid buys 17 extra sheep. Effion sells 8 of the sheep. Effion still has more sheep than Rashid, okay? So Rashid, I'm just going to say R for Rashid, he is equal to N originally. He then, and then Effion is equal to 4 times exactly that amount, so 4 times N. And then Rashid buys 17 more, so we're going to add 17 to that. And Effion, who has 4N sheep, he then sells 8 of his sheep, so he loses 8. But he still has more than Rashid, so we say Effion has greater amount of sheep than Rashid. Okay? So from there, I'm going to say 4N is greater than, 4N minus 8 is greater than N plus 17. Okay? So Effion's number sheet is still more than Rashid. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is start by taking N off each side, because to solve an equation, that's what this is, we're used to seeing X's, this time it's N's. I want to get the N's all on one side, so start by getting rid of the smallest amount of N. That would give me 3N minus 8 is greater than 17. I will now add 8 to each side to get 3N is greater than 25. And then I'll divide both sides by 3 to get N is greater than 3. 25 divided by 3. Now, it then says, solve the inequality to find the least value of N. I haven't actually done that, okay? To find the least value of N, I've basically said that N is greater than 23 over 5. Now, it's fine to leave your answers there, but you're going to struggle to answer the next bit. How many 3's go into 25? 8 and remainder 1. What was I dividing by? 3. So it's greater than 8 and a third sheep. So the smallest number of sheep for that to be true would be 9 is the smallest, because N has to be bigger than 8 and a bit. Okay, so 9 is the smallest. Now I've answered it. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. I've absolutely motored through that paper. We usually get these done in about 50-55 minutes. It's taken 41 minutes, it says on my computer, although it does sort of have a bit of a lag on it now and again. If it was useful, please hit the subscribe button and follow me for any more access to videos as and when I release them. Thanks for watching.